So now let's talk about those representatives here in Massachusetts that are now finally coming out and saying where they stand on the ballot question, on the staffing ratio ballot question. So we're going to start with one of my faves, one of my presidential hopefuls for 2020. Heart and soul, ladies and gentlemen. Senator Elizabeth Warren. Okay, I just want to read you this quote coming out from the gate just to let you know where she stands. She said it wonderfully. I love it. Hear her out. Nurses work hard to take care of all of us when it matters the most. And we should do the same for them by establishing standards to ensure they have the help they need to do their job safely. She continues on by firmly saying, I stand with our nurses and support a yes vote on question 1 in November. So right off the bat, you know that Senator Elizabeth Warren is standing on the yes side. So we've got one on the yes side. There's many more at the end. I'll tell you who else, but we have Senator Elizabeth Warren on our side. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Senator Elizabeth Warren. There's many more. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Elizabeth Warren because her background and who she is really will help you understand why at least believing her if you don't have the time to go in and dig and do all your research and all that good stuff and look at both sides and look at the actual bill and all of that nitty gritty, because this is why we vote for representatives, so they can do that nitty gritty while we live our day to day. It's not our day to day job to look at the nitty gritty of each of these bills and what it's going to cost us Americans. We vote for these representatives so they can do that job. And the reason I'm saying you should believe Elizabeth Warren is let's look at her record. Let's look at what she has done for Americans, for those in Massachusetts. Who is she? And that maybe will help us judge what her motives are when looking at a bill like the nurse staffing ratio. So in the past, so most recently in 2017, she co-sponsored a bill, Nurse Staffing Standards for Hospital Patient Safety and Quality Act, which was very, very similar to question 1. I'm not going to go into the details, but I'll put the link below in the description box. Go check it out. So it'll have all of the information on the bill she sponsored. This was a nationwide. This was federal. It was going to be a federal bill across all 50 states. It's very similar to question 1. Go check it out. She co-sponsored it. She co-sponsored that bill. So we already know she's for nurses. This is not her first outing here with the nurses. So telling you a little bit about Elizabeth Warren's history. So Elizabeth Warren was formerly a professor of law and taught at the University of Texas, the University of Pennsylvania, and most recently Harvard Law School. And she's also a prominent scholar specializing in bankruptcy law. Warren was among the most cited law professors in the field of commercial law before she began her political career. And I think this is super, super important, right? So Elizabeth Warren, it doesn't stop there. And it's not just for nurses, and she's not just a nursing hoorah hero. She is a Massachusetts, a Bostonian hero. She is here to represent us, and she wants the best for the people, not for the big business, for the people. And yes, I'm talking to you nurses as well. She is an active consumer protection advocate whose efforts led to the conception and the establishment of the U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And if you don't know what that is, ladies and gentlemen, you've been missing out on a whole lot. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has saved Americans, Massachusetts folks, like the actual people. When I say the people, I don't mean the business behind the people. I don't mean the budget of Massachusetts. I mean actual human beings, people, billions of dollars. Let me tell you the exact numbers here. From its creation until 2017, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has curtailed abusive debt collection practices, reformed mortgage lending, publicized and investigated hundreds of thousands of complaints for aggravated customers of financial institutions, and extracted nearly $12 billion for 29 million consumers in refunds and cancel debts. So if you're going to ask me the question, so Q, great, this is all amazing things that Elizabeth Warren has done or is doing currently, but why should I be on the same side as Elizabeth Warren? And I think it's clear as day. Number one, if you're a nurse, you know that she has a track record of standing with nurses everywhere. And then number two, the conception. She is the mother of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, thereby also being a big part of why 29 million Americans have received money that they lost unfairly to these big, insane businesses like the Massachusetts Health Hospital Association. When Elizabeth Warren says the right side of history is being on a yes, I agree. She's well known everywhere. She's a big name. Most people know who Elizabeth Warren is. So, and when she comes out and says, I stand yes, there's a reason behind it. She's not just trying to cozy up next to us nurses. She has a history of staying with the people. And I agree. And I'm thankful that she's voting yes and is telling those in Massachusetts to also vote yes. Thank you, Elizabeth Warren. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So before I end, I just want to tell you a few more representatives that are not as well known as Elizabeth Warren, and it's mainly why I chose her to talk about. But other people that are also backing the bill include Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. Good for you, sir. I already told you about Senator Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey, Representative Catherine Clark, Jim McGovern, and Joe Kennedy III, and Michael Capano. And those are all of the people that are also backing, that are also voting yes when it comes to question 1. I think it's very important that you guys know who is standing where on this issue and why. Maybe they're just doing it so they can get on nursing good side, but I don't think that's the case for Elizabeth Warren. Like I just told you, she has a verified background of looking out for nurses and just the people of America. Right? Not the businesses, not these multi-billion corporations, not the people that are giving money to her campaigns, for the people, for the actual people of America, for the actual nurses here in Massachusetts. Thank you, Elizabeth Warren. So I'm not going to be super biased and just tell you who voted on the yes side and tell you all about how much I love Elizabeth Warren and Joe Kennedy. No. I'm going to try to be as fair as I possibly can. And the biggest well-known representative name that I found that was voting on the no side was Governor Charlie Baker. If you didn't know who he is, he has been our governor. He's the 72nd governor here in Massachusetts. So when Governor Baker was asked why is he voting no, he cited that same study by the Health Commission policy that I just did a story on earlier today. So please, I'm begging with you, I'm pleading with you. If you're watching this just as a clip or somewhere else that's not YouTube and it's not part of the Nursing News segment, I'm going to put in the link below the actual story that I did when discussing that actual study, the study that Governor Baker has cited when saying this is the reason I'm voting no. He thinks it's going to cost Massachusetts way too much. I went in depth of how that study is just disproportionate. It's bullshit. The study is bullshit. The numbers they use to make the assumptions on how this bill will affect Massachusetts and the taxpayers is bullshit. So please, please, please go look at that segment, go look at that story, and then we'll move forward. So just right there off the bat, when asked, how are you standing on the issue, on staffing ratios ballot question, he said no, because of a bullshit study. And I'm calling it a bullshit study. That's just my personal thing. So go check out the story, look at the study and a link to the segment is going to be down below. So that's why he's voting no, because he thinks it's going to cost too much, which I disagree with, if I didn't make myself clear. So let's look at his history, just like we did for Elizabeth Warren. Let's look at Governor Baker's history. Why is he voting the way he's voting? All right, outside of that immediate study reason, what in his past can tell us a little bit about where his intentions lie when making this specific vote? So let's talk about what he did prior to becoming the governor. Right? That's what was your job? What were you doing prior? We know that Elizabeth Warren was a law professor. We know that she is the reason we have the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. What has Governor Baker done for Massachusetts, done for nurses? What has he done for the people? So prior to being the governor of Massachusetts, Governor Baker spent 10 years as the CEO of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Do I need to say any more? Do I need to say anything else? I mean, this is Harvard Pilgrim. I mean, we're going to talk about who is against this bill, who is going to lose money, and at least in the immediate effect of this bill. These insurers are the number one outside of the actual hospital association, which I talked about, who is funding all of these voting no ads. outside of the hospital association, these insurers are going to lose money. And why are they going to lose money? Because patients are going to be safer. Because having more nurses leads to safer patient outcomes. That is just a fact. The studies are, it's, okay, I'm not going there. I know, I'm sorry. Sticking on the issue. This was his job. He was the CEO of Harvard Pilgrim. So I don't need to say anymore, but I will. Many people say that Governor Baker has saved Harvard Pilgrim. When he worked there, he saved it. They were going under. He came in. He did what he had to do. And I'll tell you what he had to do. He did what he had to do, and it turned Harvard Pilgrim around. And today, Harvard Pilgrim is one of the biggest, largest health insurers in Massachusetts, along with the United States of America. So let me tell you how our great Governor Baker saved Harvard Pilgrim. Right? Let me tell you how he did that. He raised premiums during his 10 years there. He raised premiums 150% and tripled his own salary to $1.7 million during his decade at Harvard Pilgrim. This, my friends, is the person who's voting no when it comes to safe staffing ratios. Out of all the representatives I know, yes, there's many more, but this is the most well-known that I found that I wanted to pitch to let you know where he stands. Governor Baker, the former CEO of Harvard Pilgrim, who during his time there raised premiums not for hospitals, not for the insurers, not trying to look out for you, the nurses, not trying to look out for you, the patients, the people of Massachusetts, or the people of the United States. No, he was looking out for his own pocket and for Harvard Pilgrim's financial budget at the end of the year wallet. That's all he cared about that time. So let me ask you guys the simple question is so that is Governor Baker, and that's who he was prior to becoming governor, and and he told you the reason he's voting no. He's saying he's voting no because it costs too much. But did he care about how much it cost when he raised those premiums 150%? Did he care how much insurance was going to cost the average American, the average folk from Massachusetts when he was adding to his own salary? No, he did not give a shit. He didn't care. All he cared about is how much money can I walk out of this place with? How much money can I make my business, which was Harvard Pilgrim? And now he's voting no, citing that it's going to cost too much money. He didn't care about how much it cost for you 10 years ago. He did not give two shits. But now he cares. Now he cares all the world. When his salary is on the line, he does not care at all. When his salary is on the line, he will up your premiums 150 goddamn percent. But now, he's worried about how much it's going to cost the taxpayer. He doesn't give a shit, ladies and gentlemen. He just doesn't give a shit. There's no way in hell you can tell me someone who raised premiums and that was his claim to fame. His claim to fame was saving Harvard Pilgrim, and how he saved Harvard Pilgrim was increasing your premiums 150%. And today he's going to stand here, look you in the eyes, and tell you he cares about how much this is going to cost the taxpayer. He doesn't give a shit. He just doesn't. All he cares about is how much money he can get in his pockets and what he needs to say to get the votes he needs to become governor again. Ladies and gentlemen, on this alone, I would vote against Governor Baker, but I haven't done my research, so I'm not going to go out and say vote for whoever is against Governor Baker, because I don't even know who is. I don't know who is, so I'm not going to be that guy. But I am saying on this alone, just makes me look at him at an entirely different light. Entirely, all right? So that's the last story I'm going to do on the staffing ratios for this week's nursing news. But I want to leave you guys with this question, right? We vote for these representatives to do the hard work. So I know when you go out and you're talking to people, they say, do your research, look at the stuff, look it up. And yes, it's super important to be an informed voter, but when it comes to situations like this, it's really difficult on our day-to-day as busy people it's not our job to look at this stuff up. Yes, it affects us, and yes, we want to be informed, but there's a limit. We have shit to do. This is not our livelihood. We vote for these representatives to do that nitty gritty, right? So, given those two options, given that we've voted for both Governor Charlie Baker here in Massachusetts and Senator Elizabeth Warren, we, the Massachusetts residents, have voted for those two people in office. Yes, they're not both senators, they're not both governors, they're not representatives, but it is their job to do their research, to come up with an answer, to help us citizens, to represent us, to give us the best hope for a better future for Massachusetts, right? So given those two options, Elizabeth Warren and Charlie Baker, we know that Senator Elizabeth Warren who was a former law professor, whose claim to fame was the conception of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which, by the way, saved up over $12 billion for 29 million Americans across the U.S. and has co-sponsored a nurse staffing bill for federally that would mandate some safe patient limits in all hospitals across all 50 states. That's option number one. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is publicly saying, I am voting yes and you should too. And then your second option, the best well-known representative here in Massachusetts that I could find that is voting no, Governor Charlie Baker, who's been our governor since 2015, and prior to that, he was the CEO of Harvard Pilgrim, one of the largest health insurers in the U.S. And it doesn't just stop there. His claim to fame, remember, Senator Elizabeth Warren saved 29 million Americans over $12 billion. Governor Charlie Baker's claim to fame was that he saved Harvard Pilgrim from going under during his 10 years there, but the way he did it was increase your premiums, our premiums, the residents of Massachusetts and the people in America. He increased their premiums over 10 years 150%. And added to his own salary, which ended up being $1.7 million. Those are your options. You have Senator Elizabeth Warren, who saved millions of Americans' money by fighting these humongous corporations. That's option one. Or Governor Charlie Baker, whose claim to fame is saving Harvard Pilgrim from going under by increasing your premiums 150% over 10 years. I think that there's no question about it. Even if you know nothing about the ballot question. If you know zero about the ballot question, but you just look at who's voting yes and who's voting no when it comes to our representatives. And like I said, I'm just giving you those two options. But when you look at the yes side, you have Joe Kennedy, you have Mayor Marty Walsh, so on and so forth. But just on those two alone, the biggest names on both sides, the yes and the no side, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Governor Charlie Baker, when you just look at those two, the answer is clear as day. When you look at the two representatives and you look at history alone on who has looked out for the American citizen, on history alone, on who has looked out for Bostonians, on who has looked out for nurses, the answer is clear as day. It's Senator Elizabeth Warren and Governor Charlie Baker. I don't know. I looked. I really wanted to find something that you did that was positive for nurses, something that you did that was positive for patients here in the state. Nothing. All I could find was the great accomplishments you did when you were at Harvard Pilgrim. So that's it. I know I get crazy when it comes to this bill ballot question because it's so hard. The people on the yes side cannot compete with the ads, the money that these health insurers, that these healthcare, that the hospital association, that all of these big businesses are giving the no side to put up these ads for. We can't compete with them, and that's why I get so heated and I get to go on these crazy rants, and I apologize for that. But all the links to the actual studies, all the links to the backgrounds of both senators, all of this stuff is going to be in the description box below so you can look at it yourself without hearing me scream, rant, and get all emotional about it, all right? So all of that stuff is going to be in the description box below. Please click it. Go look for it. Look at it yourself. Let me know. If Charlie Baker is the greatest is the greatest governor that's ever been for nurses, let me know why, and then I will apologize. But until then, Senator Elizabeth Warren has shown that she stands for and with nurses, stands for and with Massachusetts, the residents of Massachusetts. Charlie Baker, brother, all we know about you and what you love talking about is how you saved Harvard Pilgrim. And like I said, there's many more representatives on both sides, the yes and the no, that have their own reasoning behind each. I just wanted to talk about the biggest, most well-known here in Massachusetts, and that just so happened to be Elizabeth Warren and Governor Charlie Baker. Let me know who else is voting where. Give me the reasons. Tell me why. Tell me why I'm wrong for siding with Elizabeth Warren. Tell me why I'm wrong for being upset that Governor Baker increased premiums at 150% and now is telling you in your face that he's worried about the taxpayers' money. Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. Ladies and gentlemen, vote yes on ballot question 1. Safe staffing equals safer patient outcomes. Please and thank you.